years for me. It's too easy to do another 5, right? But I'm young enough that I'll probably do another 14 years, so 28 years total.
What kind of positions can you have with the AGR? What sort of careers can you go into?
So for AGR, we have several career paths. However, the ones that I see locally that are easier to employ are things like paralegal, human resources, mechanics, and with mechanics, there's aviation mechanics as well as ground mechanics. Supply, did I say supply already? Supply, and I feel like I'm forgetting a couple. Field artillery actually has a lot of positions as well as instructor positions. Any other questions?
So by being an AOG, you can stay in the area and still receive all full benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Someone said how long you're going to serve. Don't you get your a pension or something if you serve 20 years?
So you'll get a retirement check once you serve 20 years, yes. And for you guys, or anyone that's just interested in only working part-time, it's super crazy to retire from a part-time job. So even if you just show up for us 1 week in a month and that's it, at the end of your 20-year service, you're still going to get paid a retirement check for that, which is pretty crazy. For me being an AGR, once I hit 20 years of service, I start getting my money right away. My money will be a lot different than someone that only works 1 week in a month. So my unsolicited advice for anyone that's interested in joining me, solely because of college or whatever your life path may be, but definitely if it's because of college, once you finish your 4-year degree, you're still going to owe us 2 years, right? And those 2 years, try getting a full-time job. If you can't get a full-time job, just go essentially ADOS. ADOS is probably the easier way to get hired full-time with the National Guard, and you're just doing it on a year-to-year basis. If none of these 3 work out, I mentioned to you guys that you can volunteer for different trainings and deployments. You can volunteer and be like my friend that's in Germany. Spend those last 2 years actually making money, essentially, especially if you don't go straight into your career field. Maximize those opportunities. I think I seen another hand.
Were you enlisted or did you go through an officer?
So I'm enlisted. If you guys do join us and you want to go through the officer program, being National Guard, there's 2 options. ROTC, which is done at a college university. You do that throughout the week as a college student, or you can go OCS. OCS is Officer Candidate School. With Officer Candidate School, you'll go to essentially drill weekends and perform trainings as an officer. Any questions? Any other questions for me? All right, so in summary, we talked about military to civilian job training. We went over civilian job paths, military job paths. We talked about keeping your resumes updated a little bit, and I hope that I gave you enough about what's in it for you. What's in it for you is always going to be training and opportunities. Training and opportunities that essentially lead to more pay, more exposure. Any questions for me? All right. And I did all of this while keeping you as the star. You're the center of this whole presentation. So if anyone wants to actually connect with me outside of this, I made a little scan. I think it kind of looks a little weird. Can y'all give me feedback on this though? Is it okay?
Yeah. Good.
It's good.
I like it.
Isn't it nice?
It's more interesting than a normal QR code.
Okay, I'll take it. But if anyone is interested in connecting with me outside of this presentation, if you want to learn more, if you want me to come and sit down with you and your parents, assuming that everyone in this room is under 18, I do indeed have to talk with your parent about your enlistment process. You can scan that code. It simply brings up my contact information, and you can add me as a contact. Any questions?
I have a question. For college, when you have the scholarship also, can I use a GI Bill for my parents? For college, since the National Guard and it's expensive, it doesn't pay for all of the college tuition, can I use my parents' GI Bill?
Oh, can you use your parents' GI Bill? You can, but you can't use both at once,
Oh,
if that makes sense. So you can use yours and then, or your parents first and then use yours. And just to touch on that, another thing that Pennsylvania recently created, Pennsylvania and Texas right now are the only two states that offer it. It's essentially, we offer you the GI Bill if you do a 6-year contract with us, right? Excuse me, that's the college money that we're gonna pay you, as well as paying towards your tuition. If you decide that you wanna stay with us, you do a second contract, you can now get those same benefits for a future dependent. It could be a husband, a wife, a child. They don't even have to be born yet, you can still be single. You don't have to assign it or allocate it to anyone as soon as you get that actual benefit. And you can do it, or Pennsylvania's working, so that you can do it more than once. So if you're someone like me that's a lifer, we call people that do 20 years lifers. So if you're a lifer, you're expected to do at least 4 contracts. But contracts typically go from like a 6-year basis, or up to 6 years. I can do that 3 times. Me personally, my husband is also in the military. He started out as a Marine and now he's in the Army National Guard. He never used his college benefit. So he reassigned his college benefit to my oldest daughter. At the time when Pennsylvania came out with this new GI Bill for your dependents, I only had 1 kid. So I re-enlisted and I assigned my second benefit to her. At the time, her college was paid for 200% and she wasn't even 1 year old yet. We now have 2 kids, I got a lot of kids. We now have 2 kids, and with our 2 girls, my husband recently re-enlisted. He got that college benefit for a second time. Their colleges are now paid for 150% each. So everything that I said to you guys, as far as like the money that you get paid just for being a college student, as well as the tuition, my kids have that basically doubled. I know I'm probably talking you guys' heads off. Does it make sense? Any other questions for me?
Do you have to have your hair laid down, and if so, why?
Lay down like this? So essentially, us older people just opt for like the slick buns. However, you can now have your hair in a braided ponytail. It can be a free hanging ponytail. You can also have locks. It just has to go up into a ponytail. You can style it different ways now. And you can wear earrings. That's something new for us.
What do you personally like about being in the Army National Guard? Just like what's,
So-
besides all the benefits, what do you like about it?
So what I love about being in the Army National Guard are the training opportunities. For me, my background is human resources. I've only ever been a human resources specialist and/or sergeant throughout my entire career. However, about 3 years ago at this point, I got tired of being HR. I genuinely just needed a break. Most civilian places, if you get tired of your job and you just want a different career path, it kind of disrupts your retirement. For me, I decided to go and become an instructor. I was a basic leadership course instructor. It's one of the first courses you go through prior to getting promoted. We teach things like land navigation skills. We teach legal as well as a little bit of morality when it comes to your next rank structure and a plethora of other things. I decided to go and be an instructor. I love being an instructor, and now I get to recruit. I get to do what my recruiter once upon a time did for me with other people. So what I love about being in the National Guard is the ability to just have flex in the different things that you do, while also not necessarily disrupting my life in a way that I'm just constantly picking up new things from different organizations in a way that, in a way that it takes away from my long-term plan of retirement.
Does basic for the National Guard differ from the Army basic?
So the National Guard is still the Army. I want you guys to keep that in mind. Some people like kind of differentiate. We're still Army, and Army-wide, everyone goes to the same basic training as well as the same leadership schools. You do everything with other components, essentially. So it's not different.
Do you make good like connections or friends in the National Guard, or is it more individual?
So it depends on the person. For me personally, I'm super social. I've made a lot of friends since I've been in. One friend in particular, Proy, I met her when I went down to an ID training course, essentially. We met in Virginia. Proy lives all the way out in Arkansas. We still talk to this day. Recently, I went down to recruiting school about a year ago. I went to recruiting school, which is located in Arkansas, and I got to see Proy again. So lifelong friendships in different states.
I know that when you said for like different options, you can go to ROTC or OCS, but if you had, because I know if you take JROTC and you move to ROTC, you can like transfer in. Is that the same with OCS?
So it's not the same with OCS. However, if you did JROTC, you're definitely going to be prepared for either program, but it doesn't necessarily transfer. If anyone in this room did anything like JROTC, Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts, Girl Scouts, so on and so forth, you actually come to us with more rank. You'll come to us with a promotion up front versus having to wait to get promoted.
What were the pros and cons that you would say with customers experience you had?
The pros and cons, which side you want first? The cons first. So for me personally, and it was more so my own choosing, a part of my cons were things like going to school about 4 hours away and I didn't have a car. However, the college was paid for, so it's like kind of a pro and a con. But going to school so far away, and ever so often, I'm career focused. I didn't have kids, so I could be career focused at one point in time. But with me being career focused and hopping on every single thing that became available to me, I missed out on some friendship accolades as well as some family events. But once again, that was kind of self-inflicted. Another con, when I joined about 15 years ago, we couldn't actually wear our hair in ponytails, and like the hair restrictions were just a whole lot more different. I did not know at the time, but I didn't like, and when I first joined, I was super girly. I didn't like that I couldn't wear my hair how I actually wanted. And it's because of the uniformity that goes with the uniform. The pros within the last 15 years are definitely things, like I told you guys about the benefits, which I love, but the pros, for me personally, I come from a single family household. My mom had 9 kids. So me being the third out of 9 kids was pretty brutal. We almost never had too much of anything. A lot of basic things were considered a luxury. Now, fast forward about 15 years into my career, one of my major pros, and one of the things that I love flexing about, is that I moved my mom from essentially that poverty type of lifestyle or poverty living to now my mom lives on the riverfront because I stayed down the last decade and a half within my career. You got another question?
Was there any unexpected struggles whenever you first like entered the internship or like totally expected or just what was it?
Any unexpected struggles when I first joined versus now, or when I first joined? Oh, yeah, and this is super personal. So I come from a religious background. My mom's side of the family are Jehovah's Witnesses, my dad's side of the family Muslims. And I did not know from a religious standpoint, the uniform was not necessarily appreciated. So that was definitely a struggle for me when I first joined. However, it took less than 5 years for my grandma to change her mindset on, as well as her viewpoint on the military in general, because she's seen that it wasn't necessarily just straight up combat focus. Everyone thinks that if you put on a uniform, you're going to go do all these horrendous things, and that's not always the case at all, especially for someone in my role. Anyone else?
Kind of off topic, but I keep seeing the triangle on the side. I'm interested in what that is.
So this is my deployment badge. The 1st Armored Division out of Texas. When I deployed to Afghanistan, it's pretty hard to flex or like trying to change up. But when I deployed back in 2014 to 2015, we fell underneath this particular brigade for our deployment. And this just shows who I was deployed underneath.
Do you still keep your like EMT medical training?
So by default, yes. We have something called basic life combat saving skills as soldiers. So by default, I maintain the most minimum level. However, no, I don't actually retrain for the state, but that's because I choose not to.
Did you go through like the patches and everything?
Huh?
Can you go through like the patches and everything around the uniform?
Can I go through them? I can barely see them. Okay, you guys might have to help me out. If I point at something because I can't see it, it's like a little bit of restriction in my neck. So here is, or above this one in particular, that's my branch insignia. It just shows that I'm a part of the Adjutant General Corps. This one here is a unit citation. So I got this one when I was working as an instructor, a BLC instructor. My unit was recognized for being one of the top units by the governor, essentially. This just simply tells you who I am. This side, I just explained the deployment to you guys, and then underneath it is just our rank. I'm currently a staff sergeant or an E6. This little line up here, it just shows my actual unit. That's your unit insignia, like who you belong to. I belong to Joint Force Headquarters, which is actually at the state level as a recruiter. Okay, my badge. So this one is a recruiting badge. It just shows you that I'm a recruiter and also the level of recruiting that I'm at. Each badge that you obtain within the military, there's different levels to the badges, essentially. I'm still a basic recruiter. This is marksmanship for my rifle. And then all of these nice, beautiful, colorful things, they're just my awards. So throughout time, depending on what you do, you'll be given different awards. Usually if someone deploys, we consider this to be a rack. So some people might say awards, other people might say rack, but nonetheless, your rack just shows not only your time in service, but the different things that you may have done. So some of these awards, as well as badges, like some of them have numbers on it, clusters, so on and so forth. It just shows you that I completed a course so many times, or I received the award a number of times. What's this one? Okay, so that was my unit patch once again. It just shows which unit I actually belong to, and underneath it again is just my rank. So we show who we belong to in 2 spots, essentially. Did I miss anything? I don't think so, right? Anyone else?
Does everybody go through marksmanship training?
It's a yearly requirement.
How many can you actually have on your thing?
This one?
No, like the badges.
So you're allowed to wear 2 badges at a time. If you have more than 2 badges, you kind of choose the 2 most recent ones, or the ones that you're currently qualified in, or maintaining, excuse me. However, some people, like depending on your job, is usually the infantrymen, they'll have different tabs is what we call them. They'll have different tabs to show different things, like a combat action badge, mountaineer training, so on and so forth. And those will kind of be stacked up on this side. I just flipped something out of place. Any other questions for me? It might sound like there's a lot to this uniform, but there's quite literally a regulation and guidance on every single thing that we do, down to the way that we wear our hair, as well as the uniform and where things go. So there's a lot to it, but there's literally something written in black and white that makes it fairly easy to keep up. Any other questions?
Completely unrelated. Dress greens or dress blues?
These are greens. People consider them to be greens, pink and greens, but I see no pink. The blues, they're a little bit outdated at this point. We're still phasing out of the blues.
Do people still wear them?
People do still wear them because they had the authority to wear them until the uniform is completely phased out. This one's fairly expensive. Any other questions?
Do you have any advice for anybody that wants to go into the military or actively wants to join?
Yeah, so regardless of which branch you're interested in joining, especially being younger, number 1, do your research. Join a branch that actually fits you based off of what you want to do. Number 2, if you're not already working out or like focused on your health and fitness, it helps to get ahead of the game. And I say that because some people show up to things like basic training, regardless of the branch, show up to basic training and they get injured in the most craziest ways possible. Like shin splints can turn into something that's 10,000% worse. So if you can get your body conditioned, even in a super basic way, it'll help you. Anyone else? Can I pick on people?